This hurricane season, for the latest storm information, turn to the CBS 4 Hurricane Network. On television, CBS 4, UPN 33 and WPBT Channel 2 for the hearing impaired. On the radio, 101.5 Light FM, Magic 102.7, AM 790 and 91.3 FM. In Creole, 1320 AM. In the Keys, US 1, 104.1 FM, Conch FM, Wave FM, and Oldies 105.5 FM. All part of the CBS 4 Hurricane Network.
The reason that you are a member of the Cochran firm is that you share my commitment to excellence to our clients. You've proven to me that you care and want to do the best job for your clients. I love every one of you, or you would not be in this room. I want you to feel the pressure of me looking over your shoulder, because our clients expect the best, and it's our job to deliver.
If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto or truck accident, call the Cochran firm at 1-800-LAW-HELP.
Before you leave on your vacation this summer, take a look at your auto insurance. Are you certain that you're getting the best price? You should know Mercury Insurance consistently beats its competitors in head-to-head rate comparisons. Florida drivers can save over $500 a year. So whatever road you take this summer, take Mercury along.
Mercury Insurance, going the extra mile for you. Click on mercuryinsurance.com or call 888-4MERCURY.
If you want to save a ton on new Fords, just take 826 East to the beach, right to Beach Ford, and buy a new Focus, now $8,883. Or buy a new Ford F-150 pickup for just $12,909. And new Explorers, loaded with equipment, are now only $16,990. Nobody beats a Beach Ford deal, so head straight for the beach. Beach Ford on 163rd Street in North Miami, just 2 miles east of I-95.
You're watching continuing CBS 4 News coverage of Hurricane Dennis, the aftermath. This is a live picture from Marathon. You can see those squall lines still moving through. It's raining pretty good right there, and the wind is still howling.
And if you're thinking by any chance of heading out, let's find out from Pamela Wright what you can expect if you do so. She's standing by with a look at our weather now. Pamela.
Hi there. Well, here is certainly one shot and one place you won't find me. No leash and no clue as far as surfing goes. But it is an amazing, awesome, spectacular, yet dangerous shot here right along the coastline. And the waters will relax last. So things are going to stay pretty rough at the coast for the next few days, but it is a beautiful sight out there, and this right now winds are still very gusty. Miami at the airport, 38-mile-per-hour winds, 28 miles per hour in Homestead. This is just the norm and has been for the last several hours, and knowing this is just streaming in onshore, you know that the rip currents are also very dangerous out there. Key West, 54-mile-per-hour wind gusts. We've seen it just slowly over the last couple of hours, not peaking quite as much as we've watched Tampa pick up. First wind gust we could get there several hours ago was about 16 miles per hour, and now it's at 30. So things are moving northward, and some of the heavier weather, of course, is going to do that too. Certainly interesting, despite all the clouds, the rain, and the wind, temperatures are still very warm. Key West, cool, but still 79 degrees, cooler. Fort Lauderdale even getting some breaks of sunshine out there. So it certainly makes you want to get outdoors and just certainly stay close to home. And we are not done with the rain. Certainly have not had much of a break at all down through the Keys, as we still see the center pulling off towards the northwest. That moisture continues to be especially heavy for you there. And we're still going to have some more rain coming in, though not as heavy, not as widespread heavy in Miami-Dade and Fort Lauderdale. The clouds, the rain continues to spread to the north, and the water vapor imagery here shows the extreme moisture with all of this, and the field in the mid and upper levels stretching from south of Cuba all the way into Alabama, and some breaks in that deep moisture in the mid and upper levels, and we may get more breaks of it earlier rather than later. So whether we could get a decent amount of sunshine yet tomorrow, yet to be seen. But we're going to hold on to the strong squalls at times, especially everything will take that much longer in the Keys to wrap up. you're still encouraged to stay in port and away from the waters in reasonable expectation over the next day or so. Strong gusts still possible tonight, especially the further south you are. And then storms at times tomorrow. Could get some decent breaks of sun, as I said, and staying breezy, but still enough moisture likely around that some storms would fire up. So that's a possibility for Sunday, and then things will essentially get back to normal by the beginning of next week. A lot of tired people, a lot of very highly worked city workers cleaning up, but weather-wise, we will essentially be done with this and afternoon storms getting back to normal. But we're not out of it as far as the gusty winds are going to carry on through tonight. See you later.
All right, Pamela mentioned some sunshine in some areas peeking through, so hopefully it'll help to dry out the flooded areas.
Let's check in with Ted Scouten. He's moved to Dania Beach and found an area there where there's a lot of standing water. Ted?
Yeah, Rob, things aren't drying out here just yet. Right now I'm at Sheridan and Southeast 5th Avenue in Dania Beach. Take a look at this. This is a parking lot that's more like a lake right now. I think with this wind we're getting a few whitecaps here even. Right now, though, we're standing at a drain. This is where the water should be going down. We should be seeing some swirling action going on here, but that's not happening. So that means that the water is going down very, very slowly. There's so much water going into the storm drains that it makes it difficult for the water to go down, but it has been receding very slowly. Now take a look at some video. This is shot from earlier today in Hollywood. This is at the intersection of US 1 and Sheridan Street. This is where they're having trouble with the light. Look at that van. That van actually has a yellow light. He's waiting to make a left turn. But look at all of these cars going in front of him. All those people are just blowing right through the red light and going in front of him. Now he actually tries to make that turn, but then he's stopped by yet more traffic. The rule of thumb here is if you're at a stoplight and it's not working properly, it's not functioning properly, especially a major stoplight like that one at the intersection of Sheridan and US 1, treat it as a four-way stop. What we're seeing there, a lot of very rude drivers. I don't think I'm revealing any state secrets there. Just the rule of thumb, once again, if the lights are not functioning properly, treat it as a stop sign. Everyone come to a stop. And just be courteous, let other people go through. Now, throughout Hollywood, there's also been more flooding. You can see right there, this guy walking in all that water. You have another guy riding his bicycle through there. This is in the North Lake area of East Hollywood, where the water got actually pretty high this morning when we had a big deluge of rain. Fortunately, though, a lot of that water went down. Actually, what they had to do is they had to use a pump to get that water out of there because the water was standing in the drains, just couldn't handle it and couldn't take the water away. But the good news is that we haven't had a lot of rain going on this afternoon here in Broward County, just sporadic, very little bits of rain. So a lot of the water, especially on the streets, has been going down, so things are getting back to normal a little bit on the roads in Hollywood. But once again, you can see there's still standing water in places like in this parking lot here. Actually, a lot of standing water in this parking lot. Rule of thumb here is obviously if you don't know what's there, don't go driving through the water because there could be a big pothole or something that could damage your car or possibly cause an injury. So once again, the big rule, stoplights. If it's not working properly, treat it as a four-way stop. Give everyone a chance to get through and just be courteous and patient. We're live in Dania Beach. I'm Ted Scouten, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Ted. FP&L really working hard trying to restore power. They had restored about 400,000 people, 200,000 in each county throughout last night and this morning. We still have about 100,000, though, and areas of intersections where the power is still out. Yeah, and about the power, in Key West, they've been experiencing power outages there all night long that we've been telling you about, but Dave Malkoff told us just a short time ago, and there he is, that 8 o'clock, that's the magic number today, 8 o'clock, they expect to have power back. Dave, take it away.
Yeah, 8 o'clock is the magic hour. As you said, they are expecting to not only have power back to most of Key West, but open up the businesses. They were actually forced to close at 5 o'clock last night. So now at 8 o'clock, these businesses will open and hopefully Duval Street will be back to its normal party atmosphere. Lots of casualties of Hurricane Dennis overnight. One of the major casualties was the airport. And we're not talking about people casualties, we're talking about property casualties here. The airport was actually shut down from a storm that just pummeled the runways there. If you take a look at this video, you can see, an exclusive CBS 4 video, you can see that the runways are just completely washed out here. And not only that, but one of those DC-3 planes that was on the tarmac there was actually blown all the way over into the mangroves right there, and it's going to take a while. One of the wings may be broken off. It's going to take some crews to pull that out of there, but they're going to have to get into the airport to pull that plane out of there, out of the mangroves, and it's going to be one heck of a job for everybody there. Now, this plane may look familiar to some people because a few years ago, this plane was actually hijacked from Cuba. It was a Cuban air taxi, and it was taken here to Key West. And since then, it's been sitting there at the airport. And now, well, the plane may be destroyed. There was another plane that actually spun around a little bit, but the plane was not destroyed. That is the casualty at the airport, just those two planes that had some problems. Another casualty that we had were some of the roadways that were shut down, not only by trees and by power lines, but also by a lot of seaweed that we saw on the roadway. What they're going to do is take that seaweed and they're going to push it off to the side. Now, traditionally here in Key West, actually, some people come and scoop up that seaweed for free fertilizer, and then they come home and they put it on their garden so you can grow new key limes with the old seaweed that was blocking the roadways during Hurricane Dennis. So, main news right here is that at 8 p.m. tonight, we're going to have power back on, hopefully, in most of the areas in Key West, and the businesses will be open again. Back to you guys right there in the studio.
You learn something every day.
Especially from Dave Malkoff.
That's right. I had no idea I could use the seaweed.
Well, we continue to follow the latest in Hurricane Dennis, and if you're sitting at home and by any chance you have witnessed or Dennis has left his mark anywhere near where you live, perhaps some damage, downed trees, power lines that may be down, or flooding perhaps in your area, anything that you think is of interest to us, we'd love to share it with our viewers. Send us some pictures, still pictures, or perhaps you can get it on video, and be sure and send it us here to www.cbs4news.com. It's also a good idea to take those pictures for yourself for the insurance purposes, so if you have some, feel free to send it to us.
That's a good point. Live picture here from Marathon. The wind is still blowing at a steady rate down in the Keys. You're watching continuing coverage of Hurricane Dennis right here on CBS 4. We'll be right back.
That's it. That's right. It's Tony Roma's Combo Time. Hurry in today for Tony Roma's Combos, featuring the St. Louis Sampler, a full rack, 4 ways with 4 great sauces, or combo up, ribs, chicken, or shrimp. It's your pick, perfect for any appetite.
Gotta get to Tony Roma's. We're grilling ribs for you. Gotta come to Tony Roma's and see what's new. Yeah!
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, South Florida, for making Esserman your #1 Nissan dealer.
We're #1 in sales, and we're Florida's only 4-time winner of Nissan's Award of Excellence. Come to the leader and save like never before.
Lease the new 2005 Nissan Murano for only $189 a month. New 2005 Nissan Altima, just $89 a month.
Come meet the #1 Nissan team at Esserman Nissan on the Palmetto and 57th Ave.
What are more than 1,000 multinational companies and 31 international banks doing in Miami-Dade County? With 1 million skilled workers, no local business tax, no personal income tax, and easy access to the most important markets in the world. It's easy to see why so many businesses are calling the Beacon Council to help them make it Miami, Miami-Dade County. This message brought to you by the Beacon Council and CBS 4 in partnership to strengthen the economy of Miami-Dade.
Drinking water is your most important hurricane supply. Ideally, you should have at least 7 gallons of clean water per person. Fill sterile containers or buy bottled water.
This Hurricane 2005 safety tip is sponsored by South Florida Water Management District.
You're watching continuing coverage of Hurricane Dennis and the aftermath right here on CBS 4 News. A live picture here from Marathon. There have been minimal reports of damage from the Marathon area, but further south in Key West, the storm surge was reportedly between 4 and 5 feet. It affected the airport and several different areas down in the southern Keys, down toward Key West.
And farther north to Hollywood now, what they've seen there is some rough surf as a result of the conditions that they've been experiencing from Hurricane Dennis. Robin Kish is there live now to give us an update on what's going on in Hollywood today. Robin.
The Broadwalk is actually kind of busy right now. You can see the flag is blowing in the breeze. The red flags are up because swimming is pretty much off limits, although over the side of that crest there where the sand goes down, there are a few people who are in the water. The lifeguards have allowed them to go in the water as long as they stay within 5 yards off the shore. They're not worried about rip currents so close to shore, they say. And we should mention that even though surfers are out today, they're not here because this is not a designated surfing area. We're told surfers have to stay south of Ocean Walk or north of Sheridan here in Hollywood. So the lifeguards have been busy throughout the day, and as we've seen a little bit, the waves aren't as high as they were when we first got here around noon today. They've died down some, but I can tell you the wind has not died down any. It's still blowing pretty hard here, and as people are walking along the Broadwalk, taking pictures, jogging, or just enjoying the weather, they're getting pelted with the sand that is blowing off of the beaches here, which is already a problem in terms of beach erosion. So wind is definitely a factor here today outside, and it just continues to blow. How high and how gusty is it? Well, Steve Wacholder is with me now, and he came here from North Miami Beach with an instrument here, anemometer, telling us the wind velocity, and what is it reading?
Well, right here, we're on the Broadwalk, so it's not as high as it is over there by the water on the beach. Over here, it's about 15 to 20 sustained, but I was just standing over there by the beach, actually by the water's edge. It's sustained around 30, gusting to as high as 40, which is technically tropical storm force.
So it is pretty blustery out here today, as I try to brace myself here.
Yes, I'm impressed. It's very windy here today. It was windy last night, and this hurricane that just passed by the Florida Keys was a definitely a significant storm. For the wind to still be blowing this late in the event.
What's your profession? How does your interest in the wind velocity play into what you do?
I'm a professional videographer, but I'm also a part-time storm chaser. I was in Hurricanes Ivan, Charlie, and Francis last year. I actually went after them to videotape them. And when we get a local event, I'm going to run out here, of course, with my anemometer and get a wind measurement because it's fun.
Well, some people do enjoy it. Well, we thank you for that interesting explanation of what you're finding out here, and I can tell you that there are other people who are bringing out other types of instruments. We've seen a gentleman with a metal detector trying to see what may be buried beneath the sand. Maybe he can come up with some type of buried treasure. We haven't heard about any yet. And I do want to add that here in Hollywood, things have been pretty much quiet. I spoke with a police officer who's been patrolling the beach, and he told me that other than a traffic light that's out and a couple of power lines down, a pole that's down, really there hasn't been too much damage here. The Public Works Department just came by, and they've been very busy. They're not working overtime, they're working the regular shift, but they've been picking up a lot of the debris, a lot of the tree branches, palm tree fronds that have fallen down, and they basically say that they have their work cut out for them today and tomorrow. And as far as the lifeguards are concerned, they say that so far they haven't had any incidents involving any problems with swimmers. People are listening to their regulations in terms of how far they can go out. So right now people are enjoying what they see here in terms of the storm, but the conditions really aren't fun from the vantage point of the wind and, like I said, the sand that keeps pelting you as you stand here. So it's really not that much of a fun day if you're just trying to take a stroll along the beach. But if you're interested in seeing the weather conditions, then it may be something you'd like to enjoy, and some people even brought their video cameras out to see what's going on out here. That's about it. Live from Hollywood Beach, Robin Kish, CBS 4 News.
All right, thank you, Robin. And the strong wind that Robin was talking to us about causing tens of thousands of customers to lose power in Miami-Dade, Broward, even as far north as Palm Beach.
FP&L has been out working to restore power. Kathy Scott joins us on the phone from FPL. Kathy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
What are the latest numbers?
Well, we, as you know, we've been working through the night, and every time we get some folks restored, we get another band and lose service to some other folks. But right now, we have approximately 37,000 customers out of service in Broward and about 98,000 in Miami-Dade County. The good news is we've restored about 200,000 customers throughout, I guess, since yesterday around 5 when we started seeing the worst of the weather.
Kathy, in most of the cases we imagine, or at least in some of them, it's because lines have been down, power lines, and that could also pose a danger to the folks. What are your crews finding as they head out there?
Well, there's a little bit of everything from this storm. Some cases it's an easy fix, and in other cases we've got trees down into lines, and that takes, of course, a lot more work to get a tree trimming crew in there, get the tree cut up, get the line back up and the pole back up, or whatever is necessary to get people restored to service.
And your advice to anyone who finds a downed power line?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What is your advice to someone who may find a downed power line?
Absolutely stay away from it. What we like to say is just, consider every power line energized, and particularly don't venture out at night and where there's any standing water. And if you see anything that looks, dangerous, we want to hear about it as quickly as possible.
Kathy, and for the folks who are sitting at home right now, perhaps they're listening to us because they have a battery-operated television set, but they do not have electricity at this point. What message can you send them as far as how soon the problem will be fixed? Because they're likely to get angsty pretty soon.
Sure, and we understand that, and that's why we're working around the clock, and we've got all our resources focused on getting power restored. Right now, it looks we're hoping to have everyone essentially restored no later than Sunday night, but that, of course, is barring any additional severe weather or tornado, something that we hadn't counted on. But right now, we've got all our resources focused on getting people back in service.
But there are some folks that may have to wait. I'm sorry, Rob. Some folks that may have to wait until Sunday night before they have power back?
It's dependent on a lot of whether that damage is the kind that has to be, an area that's rebuilt, or whether it's something that we can address, more rapidly. But that would, of course, be for the last customers, again, barring no, additional weather events. But so we're working on it as quickly as we can.
During the last year, during the hurricanes, FPL would rush these storm crews out ahead of time, so they were in place before the storm hit. Did you do that this time around?
Well, this storm, the nature of it was we worked throughout the storm. There were times when crews had to, maybe stay in their trucks for a while when one of the wind bands was particularly strong. But we, for the most part, have worked throughout the night and are continuing to work today, despite the bad weather, and that's our goal, to keep on doing that, to get people back in service as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you, Kathy Scott, with us on the phone from FPNL. We appreciate you taking time out to explain to the folks at home what's the situation with the power outages and how long they may have to wait. So be sure and be patient if you're sitting at home waiting for the power to come back on. Right now, we can show you an example of what FPL is dealing with. Power lines down. We're going to take you to Miami Gardens. Art Barron is standing by at one of these places where there is a down power line. Are you there? There you are.
Oh, yeah, I'm here, definitely. And, the wind is out here. And I'll tell you something. You have a lot of customers, FPL customers, without power right now. They're going to be without power for several days, and this is the reason why. This is just one of many telephone poles that have crashed down with the wires, with high voltage wires and telephone lines. Let's pan over here, and you can see that there is another pole that is precariously hanging over somebody's house over there, and those lines, they have been turned off. The power's been turned off. But let's walk down here. Let's give you some more perspective here. Look at the lines. They just are strewn all along here, all over some trees. And then you have a house right over here that has a wire down. We're going to continue to walk over here. I was told that apparently a tornado came through this area, but there's no way to really confirm that. Other people here believe that it was just a strong gust of wind that happened around 3 o'clock in the morning. And then one by one, like a domino effect, these telephone poles came crashing down. Here's one right here. Now, FP&L turned off the power at around 8 o'clock this morning, and people awoke to some loud bangs.
This morning, and it sounded like a terrorist attack to me. I mean, it was like boom, 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 boom. Then you could just see look like fireworks everywhere. I mean, it was terrible, terrible.
So what did FP&L tell you?
Initially, they told me 4 to 5 days. Then another crew came by, I guess, inspectors, and they said this afternoon sometime, which is impossible.
Yeah. I mean, they literally have to right those poles up, and that takes heavy machinery.
They have to take them up, and they have to drill the hose back, and it's going to be some time.
Yeah, you're talking about some serious work out here. You can see how this one is right now hanging over. There is another power pole right down the street there that people are afraid that one's going to topple over at any time. You have Miami-Dade out here that keeping traffic control right now, and we understand that FP&L will be coming out here within the next hour to start working on all of this, and it's a pretty lengthy process because they have to actually cut all of the wires, then they have to remove all of the poles and then replace them with new ones. So yes, it is going to be a lengthy process, and these folks are going to be without power and telephone service for the next several days. That's the very latest out here in Miami Gardens. Art Barron, CBS 4 News.
All right, Art, thanks. You know, Kathy Scott just told us they hope by Sunday night to have the customers restored. That's an individual situation that Art has right there where all those poles have fallen over. But for everybody else, hopefully it'll only be like 24 hours more.
We can only hope.
Can only hope. When you're without
chance,
electricity, it seems like forever, you know, no matter how long it is, and you're
one of those cases,
also.
and it's a telephone pole, so it's so nice that Art just informed me it'll be a few more days.
Yes.
If you've got any pictures of any damage in your neighborhood, to your property perhaps, or down power lines, or down telephone poles like you just saw, we'd like to see anything where Dennis left his mark. You can send us those pictures or video to www.cbs4news.com. There's a link there, storm pictures, that's where you want to send it, and we'll try to get it on the air as soon as we can.
Or perhaps if you took a picture of the storm as it passed through. A live picture from Hollywood here. The wind is howling out there about 20 to 30 miles per hour, but the rain seems to be tapering off. Our coverage continues in just a moment.
The CBS4 UPN 33 Hurricane 2005 guide is here. All the information you need to prepare for a hurricane. Inside, you'll get Brian's tracking chart, shopping list, and important phone numbers. It's valuable information at your fingertips, available in English and Spanish. So pick up your free CBS4 UPN 33 Hurricane Guide at any Winn-Dixie location. Brought to you by these sponsors. CBS4, your hurricane station.
Before you leave on your vacation this summer, take a look at your auto insurance. Are you certain that you're getting the best price? You should know Mercury Insurance consistently beats its competitors in head-to-head rate comparisons. Florida drivers can save over $500 a year. So whatever road you take this summer, take Mercury along.
Mercury Insurance, going the extra mile for you. Click on mercuryinsurance.com or call 888-4MERCURY.
Hi, I'm Michael Mazzini, President of American Dental Care Incorporated. We've been saving folks money on their dental, optical, and medical prescription plans for 14 years. Let me share some of the savings with you. Dental office visits, $3. Even emergency office visits, $3. Prescription drugs have become so expensive, our card can save you money on almost all your medical prescriptions. Dentists and insurance agents, call us today for opportunities. Call 1-800-452-4468 for a free brochure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, South Florida, for making Esserman your #1 Nissan dealer.
We're #1 in sales, and we're Florida's only 4-time winner of Nissan's Award of Excellence. Come to the leader and save like never before.
Lease the new 2005 Nissan Murano for only $189 a month. New 2005 Nissan Altima, just $89 a month.
Come meet the #1 Nissan team at Esserman Nissan on the Palmetto and 57th Ave.
This Hurricane Dennis update is sponsored by Care Plus Health Plans and the South Florida Water Management District, protectors of the Everglades.
You're watching live CBS 4 News coverage of Hurricane Dennis. A live picture here from Hollywood. A lot of people out at the beach in Hollywood, at least walking up and down the Broadwalk there. But it's still advised by most lifeguards in most areas to stay out of the water. The surf is way up all along the coastline, and that's creating some rip tides.
Still on this Saturday afternoon, we've got to be thankful here in Miami-Dade that, and all across South Florida, that nothing really serious happened when you consider the strength and the size of the storm. That's not the case in Cuba. Hurricane Dennis almost parked itself there for a while yesterday, several hours, and did some serious damage. Lucia Newman filed this report for us.
The worst is over. Hurricane Dennis leaving Cuba shortly after midnight, leaving this capital city completely in darkness. In fact, power still has not been established in Cuba's capital. At least 1.6 million people had to be evacuated between Thursday and Friday, taken to higher ground or to safer homes. Most of them have now returned to their houses. Among those people were 16,000 tourists, mainly Europeans and Canadians. They've also had to suffer the power outages, in some cases being forced to carry their suitcases down 25 flights of stairs in some of Havana's main hotels because the generators simply aren't working or can't keep up with the demand in order to power the elevators. Now, the mop-up exercises have already begun. It's being hampered by the rain, which is continuing here in the capital. Worst hit, of course, was South Central Cuba, which suffered, we understand, extensive damage to power and communications lines, as well as to homes and to crops. But in all, the hurricane was not as devastating as many had anticipated. Not so in Haiti, where there were massive mudslides and floods. Bridges were absolutely blown away by the waters, and at least 22 people, we understand, were killed. Absolutely devastating for an island which is still trying to recover from last year's hurricane. All in all, Cuba is counting its blessings, but it has been a nasty and certainly a premature start to this year's hurricane season. Lucia Newman.
Lucia Newman reporting from Cuba there. The situation much, much worse than it is here in the States.
Definitely, and in Haiti, it's just so difficult to see those pictures and think about what those people went through. We have an opportunity now to take you to a very, very different situation along Hullover Beach, where we've seen beachgoers there all morning long. Jill Martin standing by, and the surfers are still at it at this time. Jill.
That's right, Beatrice and Rob. I just learned an expression by the surfers, totally radical dude. That's what they are saying to describe the waves here. And as Dennis continues to move away from us, the surfers just continue to come out. Take a look behind me. Since we've gotten here, probably around noon, it has just been packed. You cannot find a parking spot in the lot. There's about 50 surfers out there right now. And if you take a look over to the lifeguards, Dan, lifeguards are on duty. They've been here since 9 a.m. this morning. They say at 6:45 p.m. they'll make an announcement telling everybody that they are going to be leaving, but telling people they should get out of the water, but they don't necessarily have to. So people will be at their own risk at that point. But again, pretty surprising. I guess pretty surprising because we know that Hurricane Dennis was around us, but otherwise it's been a pretty typical Saturday. Obviously it's a little windy here, but you wouldn't know from the amount of people that came out in the lots. I told you earlier as we drove here, the Bell Harbor shops were packed. People were playing in the parks. And if you look over here, there's a little girl, Taylor, here that we spoke to a little while ago, and she said, look, there's Daddy going into the water. And that's pretty much the sentiment here. A lot of families out here just watching their loved ones and their friends. It's a Saturday afternoon. They said they've been waiting for this moment for months, for the waves to come in normally flat areas, they say. And earlier we spoke to two cousins. They're right here, Tiffany and Bobby, and we saw them as they were going into the water when they came from Dania Beach. And now maybe you can give us an update as to how the conditions are here.
Very rough. When we first got here, it wasn't as windy. It was a little bit better, easier to get out. But it's picking up. The wind's getting better. It's hard.
Was it radical, as I'm told, or was it a little bit scary as you started to get pulled out?
I think it was a little bit scary for me. I had a hard time, but just keep at it. So.
Okay, and what about you? What do you think?
I had fun. I liked it. It was a little rough, though. As you can see, it broke my fans. We're going to go home and make some repairs.
Can you show us that?
Yeah.
So tell us what happened and when that happened.
I tell you the truth, I don't really know. I just noticed it as soon as I come out the water.
All right, so obviously, is this more vicious waves than Dania Beach, or is it different? How is it?
Definitely. That's why we came out here, because we thought the waves were bigger, and they definitely are.
They're telling only experienced surfers to come here and to go in the water, and obviously with lifeguards on duty. Would you discourage people who haven't been doing this? You're only 20. How long have you been doing this?
About 2-3 months.
Oh, only 2-3 months. So yeah. Even for you, I mean, you're a new surfer, this was pretty scary for you.
Yeah, it is scary. But I love it, so I'm not gonna stop. And I've been waiting for waves like this since I started, so I'm enjoying it.
And at 6:45, the lifeguards are going off duty. At that time, would you continue to come out here, or are you both?
We're gonna go home right now and get some lunch, and then we're gonna come back later tonight.
Oh, during the night. I mean, aren't you nervous a little bit if that happens to you later tonight, that you're going to get dragged out and there's going to be no one to help you?
I guess I don't really think about it.
Okay, that's interesting, because everybody watching at home, I mean, a lot of people are watching at home, playing board games and eating their way through the day, and it's probably that's scary to hear for some people. I hope your mother's not watching.
I'm sure she is, but I love it. I want to do it and take advantage of the beach while I can, and hopefully I'll be okay.
All right, well, be careful. Thanks for joining us again. All right, so that's the situation here. Again, just take a last look out. A lot of surfers here today. It will be closing, well, at least the lifeguards will be off duty at 6:45, and we'll keep you updated throughout the night. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Jill. It's the top of the hour. You're watching CBS 4 News, continuing coverage of Hurricane Dennis, and at the top of the hour, we always get the latest.
Yeah, it is time to hand things over now to Brian Norcross, who's standing by with the latest on Hurricane Dennis for us. Brian.
All right, let's take a look at what the effects are on South Florida first here, and thankfully the effects are diminishing slowly as we go. Here is the real-time WFOR, and the only part of South Florida that's really having a significant effect right now continues to be the extreme lower Keys, right there, Key West, that last sort of fairly organized feeder band right here, goes up and around and into the hurricane, is going right over Key West. You see a lot more green back here, and then increasingly more green as you go up the Keys and into the metropolitan area of southeast Florida. So it's still coming down pretty good in Key West, and there's even a little bit of red downstream here, and if that happens to rotate up that way, then that's going to be a good squall with very, very gusty winds. Let me just check real quickly the winds now. Still gusting to 53 miles an hour Key West, Fort Lauderdale and Miami up around the 30-32 mile an hour range. Now up we go to the metropolitan area here, and you see that South Dade is still having some shower activity, and we notice next to no lightning strikes here. So this is not the intense thunderstorm activity we had last night. There's some pretty good rain in extreme South Dade. Most of the metropolitan area is rain-free or a sprinkle or two, no big deal. Now wider view shows you the hurricane out there, and look at this on the radar view. We see a solid donut around the eye and a very symmetric looking eye. That's an impressive view from the radar, considering it's a long way from the Key West radar on out to the center there of the hurricane. So this is an indication that this storm is likely intensifying, although the new advisory just came in with the same wind speed. But we'll talk to the National Hurricane Center here in just a couple minutes and see if they don't feel like this is very likely in an intensifying trend. Now the wide view where we can see the center as it was here, this will really show you this intensifying process, because there was the center at just before 3 o'clock this morning, and you see it has a very ragged look to it. Now watch as we go over the last 12 hours. You see kind of ragged, hard to make out exactly where the center is. And now when we get up here to the end, we see more of a donut. See, it's more of a solid, organized looking circle there. And we also see that the amount of moisture over here on this right side is just decreasing and decreasing. We still have pretty good line there, but notice that the edge of the rain is kind of pulling away this way, which you'd expect, because the hurricane is in general pulling away from us as it's moving northwest. It's taking the moisture with it, and this is the last really big band right here. And again, all these reds down here, those are strong cells. So if they come up over Key West, you're really going to know it, or they may just miss over to the west, dry Tortugas, and like that. It's a little hard to tell at this point. Satellite picture, we'll see the same sort of thing. Notice here that the purples are not all the way around. The dark colors on the west side, there's only very light colors, and the deep purples are kind of out here. Now watch as it goes here off to the northwest. The amount of purple around the center increases, and now we're getting a lot of this solid deep purple, indicating very high clouds in the atmosphere, and it looks like it's trying to wrap around here pretty good. Well, the other thing to notice on this map, if you haven't seen this yet, it's this little jog right there where it did two things for us. First thing it did is it slowed down while it was jogging, so it stayed over Cuba for an extended period of time beyond what would have happened if it had just kept right on coming. The second thing is it jogged over maybe 40 miles or so further away from Key West than it would have if it continued on that exact same path. Remember, Hurricane Charlie went across Cuba as well, and it weakened almost not at all. In fact, it might even have intensified a little bit, because it went kind of lickety-split right over the island last year. This one hung around, did itself a lot of damage, but it may be making a significant comeback. Director Max Mayfield out at the National Hurricane Center. Max, we were just looking at the radar and the satellite, and this storm is looking more formidable and more impressive.
It certainly is, Brian, and the aircraft reports that the pressure just keeps dropping slowly but surely. No rapid intensification here, but very, very steady. The outflow is so well defined that I just don't see any reason for this not to regain some of that strength that it had yesterday.
Now, looking back, do you remember, there were so many storms last year, and I know this is your life, so you probably do. Hurricane Ivan was a very, very impressive a spectacular storm, and then it went through some weakening process as it got up to the north coast. And I honestly can't remember what of the many processes that can be involved there happened. Did you recall what happened in Ivan? Was it colder water up there, or was it something in the atmosphere? Do we know?
Well, there's probably a little bit of both, Brian, and I'm sure there'll still be a lot of research papers coming out on that here in the next few years or so. But you know, Ivan had been a major hurricane for 10 days and a Cat 4 or 5 hurricane for 8 consecutive days, which was unheard of. Very well formed hurricane, you know, even as it moved all the way through the Gulf of Mexico. We really do think it weakened a little bit there right before landfall, but you sure can't gamble on that happening every time.
Just like you can't gamble on it kind of stalling and jogging over Cuba every time.
Yeah, but as you said last night, that did help temporarily in weakening the hurricane. The problem is, as I think we've been talking about today, that small inner core never did go away. If we had ended up with a large eye wall, it probably would not be strengthening as much as we think will likely occur now.
This is one of the least known things, isn't it? Last year we had this absolutely impressive Hurricane Francis that came apart and just never really got back together. Other storms we've seen be totally ragged. I mean, thinking way back to Frederick was hardly a blip on the satellite picture, and it turned out to be a spectacular storm in the end. What makes some do it and some not is really one of the big unknowns of hurricane forecasting.
And we've been real clear about this, Brian, in our even our announcement of opportunities on the Joint Hurricane Testbed projects to the research community. This is our #1 priority. We need help on intensity forecasting.
Max, earlier in the day in the discussion from one of the hurricane specialists there was a talk about development up in the northwest Gulf that might favor a slight eastward edge on this. Anything developing there with the new model runs since your 11 o'clock advisory?
Yeah, all the models show that mid-level low pressure system there in the northwestern Gulf that Stacy Stewart talked about. They just handle it a little bit differently, and they handle how the high pressure ridge to the northeast of Dennis. And so, you know, there's still some different scenarios that could play out. We think the warnings are in the proper place. Large circulation, no matter where it makes actual landfall, it's going to have a tremendous impact well away from the center.
And it's a very vulnerable coastline up there from last year. All right, Max Mayfield will be back in touch. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It's, as always, interestingly complicated. Later on tonight on CBS 4 News at 6, what I'm going to show you is the distinction between the general path of the storm, and this storm has almost gone perfectly smooth, even though when you zoom in on it, these little jigs and jags that we are never going to be able to be forecast in our lifetime, I don't think, makes so much difference on whether you have 100+ miles per hour in Key West or just barely hurricane force winds in Key West. So it's an interesting distinction between looking at the wide view, where this thing has gone right down I-95 practically on a perfectly smooth path, and then you zoom in and it's like changing lanes back and forth because it actually hasn't been totally smooth, and those little zigs and zags make so much difference. All right, let me continue on here. Just a couple more things that I wanted to get to. One is, I want to show you what the discussion has been. You might be able to see on the edge of your screen over here some rain activity. That's from a low pressure system out there, and there is this low sitting here, and the question is the wind associated with that low pushing this way, might it deflect the storm a little more to the right, just a little bit more? That's a little bit unclear. Also, on the right-hand side here, those strong cells that we had down here last night have now moved further north. Tornado watch is still technically in effect for the whole southern peninsula, but I think that will be let up here later on, and in fact, as the storm moves away, overall our weather conditions will just simply improve. Here are the numbers. That was the 2 o'clock advisory, so let me just stop right there. I don't know how that got in the show. That wasn't supposed to be there. All right, we'll be back with more here in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Brian. Well, we've been asking you for quite some time now to send us your pictures or video if you have anything, if you've witnessed any sort of damage in your neighborhood, and we are finally getting them in, and we thank you for sending them. These are pictures that we're getting from viewers who took still pictures for us and sent them in. Obviously, a tree down in United Ranches.
Yeah, some trees down there. Let's take a look at the next one. We've got a few of these that just came in. Most of the damage around our area has been confined to trees being blown over and things like that. You can see the debris there.
Yeah, and the names that you see here, by the way, are the viewers who actually sent them in, and we thank them. This one coming in from Coral Gables, and this is Cecilia Benitez, who sold it. It seems, for the most part, they're trees that are down.
Yeah, this is that's a sizable tree. There's another tree across the roadway there. Crews are out cleaning up throughout Miami-Dade County. Look at the size of the roots on that.
And that kid's got quite a story to tell his friends.
Yeah, so much of what we've seen in Coral Gables. You know, the Gables have those beautiful trees, and they're so large, but the ground has been so wet that the roots just can't hold them down when it gets windy.
It's a shame because some of those trees are there for so long, and the people get used to having them in their neighborhoods. We saw it at a far worse scale after Andrew. So many wonderful trees that were lost because of it. As our continuing coverage here, we want to take you now back to Key West, where Dave Malkoff is going to give us an update of what's happening there. Dave?
Yeah, Key West is one of those places where it is what it is. You know, I just saw some people, and they're down the street a little bit, and they were actually boogie boarding down the street on the minimal amount of water that they have right here. This stuff, they were boogie boarding on that. Not a good idea, but you know, Key West is what it is, and that's what you have. You have the 60% of the people who chose to leave to go to a higher ground, and you have the 40% of the people who stay, and they stay for good reason. They stay because they've seen the storms over and over again. They stay because they have to protect their businesses, or their firefighters, or their nurses, or their doctors, and then there are the people who stay because they want to see the storm. It's very dangerous, but we did spend some time with some of those people last night as they were going out and trying to see what Hurricane Dennis would bring.
This is Key West as Dennis started his destruction. Just a moment ago, power went out inside our hotel room. In fact, power is out for all the lower keys right now. Even though this is the tallest and one of the sturdiest buildings in Key West, we are still vulnerable because of all this glass. Flying debris could come right in. We are not boarded up like some of those businesses down there. The streets are bare due to the evacuation order, but that doesn't mean everyone's listening. Everywhere we turned, we saw people out in the storm, playing around in some very dangerous situations.
We're gonna stand a little bit of waves and stinging pain. Work on jet skis down here, so I feel this feeling a lot when I rescue people off the water.
You're a lifeguard?
No, a jet ski tour guide.
You're gonna need much more than a jet ski tour guide to save you out here.
Yeah, and winds over 30 or 35 miles per hour.
This right here is the storm surge, the most deadly part of a hurricane. It's where the storm literally vacuums the ocean up and dumps it right onto the street. If the ocean comes knocking on your door during the hurricane, you could die or be swept away.
I don't know, I was thinking about going swimming, but it looks kind of rough today.
We would say don't try this at home, but it doesn't look like any of these people are gonna listen.
12 feet breakers coming in. I wouldn't play with this anymore. The time is done.
And the last place you would want to be is at the airport. This is new exclusive video, CBS 4 exclusive video of the airport that is completely flooded out on the tarmac. And they had a major problem overnight where they had a DC-3 plane that was actually blown by Hurricane Dennis's powerful winds into the mangroves right there. Snapping off parts of the plane is going to take a long time to pull that plane out of there. Now, if this plane looks any familiar to you, you may remember a few years back there was a plane that was hijacked from Cuba, and then they landed it here in Key West. Well, that is the same DC-3 that you're looking at there. That DC-3 may be destroyed at this point. They don't know because they can't get in there and pull the plane out of there and assess the avionics inside it and try to figure out if the plane can be salvaged in any way. There was also another plane that was kind of spun around, but not so much damage to that plane, but it's going to take a long time to get the water off of the tarmac and to get the water off of the main runways there, and it's going to be a while before that airport is open. Now, they did have Greyhound buses taking people out of here, and the last Greyhound bus left at somewhere in the afternoon yesterday to just get the people off the island. I heard some police officers talking today that they were worried about some of the homeless people who stayed here in Key West. They were worried that maybe some of those homeless people may have lost their lives, but they haven't confirmed that as of yet because they have to go out and find these people, and they don't have home addresses, so they don't know exactly where all these people are, but a lot of the homeless people are locals and regulars all around here, and everyone knows them around here, so that could be some sad news if we lost any of the homeless people down here in Key West. A lot going on here, and at 8 o'clock tonight, these businesses are going to open up. We are starting to get power at different sections here in Key West, and the power, it has been a big problem since about 9:30 last night when the power went out. That means there is no air conditioning, there is no lights, and through the dead of night, through the storm, through the wind and the rain and the boards over your windows, that makes for a dark night, and that can be scary inside your house. As day broke, people came out and they saw what the damage was here from Hurricane Dennis, and we're just happy to report that it was not the total storm, the Category 5 that could have come ashore, and we really dodged a bullet here in Key West. That is the very latest down here. Back to you guys up there.
Yeah, for the second year in a row. Last year it was Ivan that was aiming at Key West and dodged that bullet. We're going to move you further on up the line to Marathon.
Carrie Codd is live there with an update for us. Carrie.
Yeah, we are. We wanted to show you guys the kind of weather that we're still experiencing here. We've gotten a little bit closer to the water. We're still getting some significant winds. And I'll tell you, the water as it comes off of the rain, rather, as it comes off of the water here is actually stinging us in the face. I'm not getting it so bad, but my photographer, Jim Bernard, is facing obviously the water, so he's getting it pretty bad, giving you these pictures. You can see out here that we've got some boats out here that are very well tied down. They did not have any problems there. Some of the planks there on the small piers are peeling away, but again, people feel very, very fortunate about what happened here. We did speak to the city manager a few moments ago. They said that because of the situation here in Marathon, things have gone so well. They're going to a partial activation of their emergency operations center starting at 6 o'clock. They feel they can start to begin scaling back those efforts. They do have workers right now out canvassing all of the areas, taking care of about 3 or 4 trees that are down, blocking some roads. But they tell us that fortunately, because of the way the high tide and the low tide came in yesterday, that they did not get the amount of flooding that they feared. And of course, because the storm did continue on the west track a little bit, that this area as well felt very, very fortunate. Now imagine actually staying on these waters during that storm yesterday. We did speak to one of those folks that we told you about yesterday. I spoke to her a little while ago, Tricia Haddock. She and her husband and their cat stayed out at the City Marina here in Marathon. She told me that she thought they were going to be all right, and indeed they were physically all right, but she told her husband that she will never, ever do that again. She said even though the winds did not reach that Category 3, Category 4 intensity, she said that boat was still rocking and rolling back and forth, tipping, almost feeling like they were going to go over at some point. She said it didn't last that long, but as anyone who's been out in a hurricane knows, it may not last long, but the time that it does last certainly feels like forever. And these winds that we're experiencing now are just a very minimal amount of what they might have experienced overnight this morning, late last night. But again, obviously, if we felt that this storm was over at this point, it is not. These winds are not the kind that will knock you off your feet, but they are certainly the kind that you should not go out in. And of course, that's something that emergency management officials do want us to tell people. They have not given the all clear at this point. There are certainly a lot of people that are out wanting to look at their property, see their businesses if they do own a business, maybe go out and get something to eat. But with the wind like this, and of course the rain still coming in slightly here, emergency officials say that it's not a good thing to do until they give the all clear, which they hope to do here in Marathon later this evening. That's the story here live in Marathon. Carrie Codd, CBS 4 News.
All right, thank you, Carrie. And not only in Marathon along the Florida Keys, but right here in Miami-Dade, especially Coral Gables crews are going to be very busy throughout the day and likely tomorrow as well. This is the reason why lots of trees that are down, some of them blocking roads.
Blocking roads, bringing down power lines. Some of them landed on cars, caused some damage to some homes. Let's go to Evan Bacon. He's in the Gables where the cleanup's underway. Evan.
Rob, looking at this ficus tree, it's kind of hard to imagine what it looks like when it's lying on the ground there because it just looks like a whole heap of mess. This is what the trees really look like here on Hardy Road. You can see how gorgeous and majestic they are. The trunk reaches up and the huge canopies above. Look how top heavy these trees are. On the other hand, when a tree falls like this, take a look at the root system. For such a huge tree, it's got such a tiny root system. The roots grow outward instead of downward, so when we get huge winds like came through here last night, these trees are going to come over, and that's what happened here at the Sanchez household right here on Hardy, just a house or two off Lejeune Road. This ficus tree came down over his front yard. I'm going to move something out of the way right behind you as Abel Castillo gets a closer look up at what this tree did. You can see it took out 3 vehicles in his front yard. You've got this Kia over here that was pretty much destroyed. The whole top of the car is gone. Then you've got his daughter's Jeep over here, which had only one branch come across and take out the soft top. And then a little farther up the driveway, you've got that BMW where a branch went through the back window. 2 of the 3 cars look salvageable. And Mr. Sanchez says actually the insurance people gave him a break, basically. They said he only had to pay only one of the deductibles on these 3 cars. But a few minutes ago, actually about an hour ago, we had a chance to talk to him, asked him what it was like to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to this giant tree falling in his front yard. Here's what he had to say.
3 o'clock in the morning, I was asleep. My wife was up, and she heard a noise, and then came back and woke me up and said the tree had fallen down. And there's branches on the roof, and there's a lot of roof damage. There's no damage inside the house, so that's good. That's a good thing. It's dry. But I have a feeling we're going to have to retile a lot of the roof. Well, I've dodged bullets so far. This one I don't think I dodged.
But you're okay. I mean,
we're fine. Everybody's fine, and that's a good thing. You know, I guess that's the primary thing, that nobody got hurt, and our house is structurally sound. There's no problem. The cars we can actually fix. So in that sense, we're good. I mean, within all the bad things, there's some good. Yeah.
Okay, let's take you about 5 blocks west of where we're standing to Hardy and Maynada, where they were cutting down a tree, a 60 to 70 foot ficus tree that came down about the same time, about 3:30 in the morning. The owner of the property in front of this tree says the tree began uprooting about 2 years ago, so he had a feeling this was going to happen. Now, let's go a little bit north of here to Mall and Agosto, right near Ponce de Leon Middle School, a ficus falling right in the middle of the street, blocking it. Fortunately, this is not a busy thoroughfare, so cutting crews will get to this tree when they're able to. And then over to Lejeune Road and Hardy Road, just about a half a block from where we're standing right now. Earlier this morning, crews were out busily cutting down that tree because Lejeune, of course, is a major thoroughfare. They needed to get that out of the way early, and that's exactly what they did. Also, Bird and Toledo, a couple ficus trees down. We're going to take you back out live to the Sanchez home. Not only did his 3 cars in the driveway get pummeled, but as you can see, the branches are laying on top of his barrel tile roof there. Those are some pretty heavy branches. We are going to assume that there is some roof damage. Hopefully it's not too serious. He said overnight, as those pounding rains came down onto his house, none of it leaked inside. So that's a good thing. But above all, the best thing of all, no one inside his home was hurt. No injuries to report. We're live in Coral Gables. Evan Bacon, CBS 4 News.
All right, Evan, Mr. Sanchez might want to step outside, take a picture of the damage for his insurance company. If you have any pictures of the aftermath of Hurricane Dennis, or possibly as Dennis moved through, please send them to us at cbs4news.com. Click on Storm Pictures. We'll put them on TV for you.
Meantime, we're going to keep bringing you these pictures, live pictures from Hollywood, just one of the many areas that we've got covered for you today as we wait and see what the aftermath of Dennis will be here. The outer bands, we're still feeling some of them from time to time. We're getting reports from viewers out there letting us know that they're feeling it as well. So we'll keep you posted. We're coming right back.
This hurricane season, for the latest storm information, turn to the CBS 4 Hurricane Network. On television, CBS 4, UPN 33 and WPBT Channel 2 for the hearing impaired. On the radio, 101.5 Live FM, Magic 102.7, AM 790 and 91.3 FM. In Creole, 1320 AM. In the Keys, US 1, 104.1 FM, Conch FM, Wave FM, and Oldies 105.5 FM. All part of the CBS 4 Hurricane Network.
We are so high.
Where's everybody going?
It's Funnel Cake Carnival down at IHOP.
Everyone's headed to IHOP for new Funnel Cake Carnival. Hot, crispy funnel cakes smothered in fruit and creamy topping and served with all your favorites for just $4.99. Hurry before this carnival leaves town. IHOP. Come hungry, leave happy.
Hello?
Before you leave on your vacation this summer, take a look at your auto insurance. Are you certain that you're getting the best price? You should know Mercury Insurance consistently beats its competitors in head-to-head rate comparisons. Florida drivers can save over $500 a year. So whatever road you take this summer, take Mercury along.
Mercury Insurance, going the extra mile for you. Click on mercuryinsurance.com or call 888-4MERCURY.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, South Florida, for making Esserman your #1 Nissan dealer.
We're #1 in sales, and we're Florida's only 4-time winner of Nissan's Award of Excellence. Come to the leader and save like never before.
Lease the new 2005 Nissan Murano for only $189 a month. New 2005 Nissan Altima, just $89 a month.
Come meet the #1 Nissan team at Esserman Nissan on the Palmetto and 57th Ave.
This Hurricane Dennis update is sponsored by Care Plus Health Plans and the South Florida Water Management District, protectors of the Everglades.
Welcome back. Live pictures from Key West as we continue to follow Hurricane Dennis for you. The winds still pretty strong there, it appears, but it doesn't seem to be raining right now, which is good news for the folks in Key West. Still, Dave Malkoff has told us earlier today that not until 8 o'clock do they expect for everyone to have power there again.
Tavernier Key reporting some heavy squalls moving through there. This is a picture from Hollywood Beach, much further north, much different conditions. Blustery out there, but people have been trying to enjoy it. Robin Kish is standing by on the beach. Robin.
Not a picture-perfect beach day, but a lot of people who've come out here today along the Hollywood Broadwalk don't seem to mind. They are strolling, they are jogging, they are pushing their children in strollers. They're enjoying the few shops that are open, purchasing some food and drink along the Broadwalk. And yes, there are a few people who have even ventured into the water, although not very far. The red flags are flying and lifeguards are restricting swimmers to within 5 yards offshore. There aren't any surfers here. We're along Michigan and the Broadwalk, and the surfers are being told that they have to stay south of Ocean Walk and then north of Sheridan. It really is blustery out here. The wind is blowing at gusting at speeds of about 35 miles per hour, and it looks as if the wave heights have gone down some, although it is pretty rough out there in the surf. And we did see a few surfers who were in the general area who've been kind of going up and down the coast here along Broward County looking for the best waves, but really isn't the place to be today. There are riptides out there and it is dangerous. So if you don't want to be pelted by the sand because of all the wind that's blowing the sand, which is obviously a concern with beach erosion, a factor here along Hollywood's beach, and you don't want to get wet because while there isn't a lot of rain, it is drizzling on and off, then you really don't want to come out here. But like I said, some people are bringing their cameras and they are recording what they see as the remnants of Hurricane Dennis. We will continue to stand by live here along Hollywood's Broadwalk and let you know how conditions change during the course of the afternoon. Reporting live in Hollywood, Robin Kish, CBS 4 News.
All right, Robin, change is the order of the day. It can be raining in one area and not raining in the other as these squall lines move through in the wake of Dennis.
And to give us an idea of what's happening with those squall lines now, Brian Norcross in Weather Control. Brian.
All right, the squall lines really are only affecting the Keys in a significant way. Just a few showers around Dade and Broward. Jeff Taylor will show you the radar in detail in just 1 second, but I wanted to show you the proof that Dennis is moving away and things are going to get better. This is the wind trace, it's called, and it's from Sombrero Key Light, which is off of Marathon. And notice here we are, just to locate the time for you here. This line right here is 8 o'clock last night, and then this line right here is 8 o'clock this morning. So you see about 3 o'clock in the morning is when the peak happened right there, and the peak measured just under hurricane strength sustained wind. So the gusts were over hurricane strength there, but these are sustained winds of just below like 72, 73 miles per hour. And now we're on down here, dropped down to about it's 42 knots. The reason these numbers here don't jibe with miles per hour is they're actually in knots, and you multiply knots times 1.15 and you get miles per hour. So 46, 47 miles per hour sustained. Now the winds at the surface are not as high as this measures, because this actually is measuring at a platform. I don't remember the exact height, but I want to say it's 30 feet above the water. So it's not, or maybe even more than that. So it's well up above the water is the point. It's not associated with the land. So you always get slightly higher wind offshore than you get right at the coast. But in any case, they give you an idea of the fact that the storm is moving away, so the overall winds are decreasing. Talk about moving away, here's the wide view. We can see the hurricane coming off of Cuba. We see the eye kind of trying to redevelop there. That little bit of an eye was not an eye there, actually. It was just the thing kind of coming apart. But now it's wrapping up. And the overall shape of it, if you recall when we started all this, when it was way down in the Caribbean, we were talking about the overall shape of the storm looked very impressive. And again, that's the case. It's very round. When the atmospheric conditions are good, that's what you see. You see a roundness to it. The only issues we see, notice on this side, there's kind of this bow in here, and this is dry air out here. And that's pushing on in. So that's why I think the weather here on the east coast of the state is actually going to be improving significantly and faster than it will on the west coast or in the Keys, because we're starting to get some of that dry air. And the other thing is, over in here, there's an area of low pressure over there, and the question has been whether that's going to eventually nudge the storm. There's Pensacola, put that my mark on Pensacola, nudge the storm just to the east of Pensacola. But if you draw that line, boy, that line aims right at Pensacola if it keeps on coming in the direction it's coming. All right, at 3 o'clock, we had a new advisory. No big difference, but just a few new numbers. 25.5, 84.4. Winds still held at 100, but the pressure has been dropping now down to 962, just slow, steady drop. And very often it takes the winds a while to catch up. In other words, the strong winds take time to get down to the surface of the water in this case, because it's over the water. And moving northwest, and that's steady 14 miles an hour, 295 miles now south of Apalachicola. And of course, it would have to turn directly north if it was going to get to Apalachicola. And here's the timetable. It looks like that during the day tomorrow, this is mid-morning and this is mid-evening here. So late afternoon, looks like it'll be coming ashore. If it were to end up over here, closer to Biloxi, it would take longer to get there. If it was over here closer to Panama City, it would get there sooner. But it's going to happen tomorrow for those folks up there in the Panhandle. And then the remnants will move up in the middle of the country where they desperately need the rain, up in the Midwest, and then turn and spread on across the east. If you're planning a trip up to the northeast later this week, you're going to run into Hurricane Dennis rain as it spreads across the Midwest and toward the northeast. There are the hurricane warnings in effect from the Mississippi-Louisiana border over to Steinhatchee here in the Big Bend. Confidence is high that somewhere in that area this hurricane is going to come ashore. And the thinking is that the odds favor this being a Category 3 hurricane when it comes ashore. It's a Category 2, fairly low in the Category 2 scale right now. And the thinking is it'll probably get up into Category 3 strength by the time it comes ashore, just judging by the fact that the overall envelope of clouds looks so impressive. All right, now here's Jeff Taylor with a look at what's going on around here.
Well, here locally, we're seeing a little bit of a break in terms of the heavy rain. Certainly the winds are still with us, and that's a big problem, too, for a lot of us. But let's zero in, first of all, on Broward County, and you can see northern Broward looking pretty good. This little light shower has been pushing across the coastline, currently moving out past the turnpike and moving towards the Sawgrass. But again, just some light rainfall here, and then further on down to the south through downtown Fort Lauderdale and through the bottom of Broward County along the coast. Things are looking pretty good. Notice some showers do start to pick up again offshore, so we are going to see those intermittent showers in Broward County, at least for the near term. Then for Miami-Dade County, you can see things holding a little bit better along the coastline. We've continued to see these showers from Aventura all the way down through downtown Miami. The beach is looking at that light rain. Inland, we've seen this little bit of a break just after we saw all this come on through. So again, the rainfall here, not a significant problem at this point. It's heavier in Dade, as we can see, and along the coastline, continuing to move in towards the northwest, but still not the big storms that we saw in the overnight. Still down in the Keys, though, they are seeing the significant significant rainfall. You can see things really thicker towards Key West. Marathon seeing a little bit of a break between Islamorada here. You can see where that little break is occurring. Islamorada seeing just some heavier rain coming on through, about to clear on through, and even up to Key Largo. Again, just some light to moderate rainfall, but there is more out there, and that's what we continue to watch for the rest of the afternoon. Now here's the radar picture, and you can see all those storms as they've come in to us, and you can see that at 5:30 we were still seeing those strong storms. These shades of red, very indicative of those gusty winds, those heavy downpours that we saw come on through, and hence that urban flood advisory lifted in for Broward. Now we put this into motion for you, and what you notice though is that although the rain continues, not quite as strong, those bands have not held together as well as we saw earlier during the day today. We have been looking at some of those breaks, but here's what I wanted to show you further on down the road. All this still has to lift up on through, and remember the entire storm, so in essence the entire picture you're seeing here is going to be lifting to the north as well. So again, in through Broward you might be thinking, well, this doesn't look so bad, you know, maybe it's not going to get too bad for us. Remember, the whole picture has to lift on through, so not only is it what's out here, but also what's down to the south. So now let's take a look at statewide in terms of the satellite radar composite, and you see that not only has it been us seeing these rains continue, even with those gusty winds, but notice how far north the storm has already reached up the Gulf Coast. We've seen it in through the Tampa-St. Pete area, pushing further north, and once again further onto the south in Cuba, still seeing some strong rainfall coming across the island there, and it's this moisture that we're watching to really dictate what kind of weather we're going to be looking at as we go through the day and night tonight, and particularly into tomorrow. This is the bigger view in terms of the satellite, and as we put this into motion, you can really see how a lot of the moisture, as Dennis has begun to redevelop, is starting to kind of cut away from another center of moisture that's down here hanging around Cuba. The dry air that Brian was showing you just a minute ago, you can see maybe trying to push further towards the east, possibly cutting off some of this flow, and what that means for us is maybe a little more sun for tomorrow from time to time, more heating as a result, and then maybe more storm activity as a result versus the rain activity that we're expecting to see as we go through the day today. So there's the difference and kind of like the rub in terms of what's going to be affecting our weather the most for the rest of the weekend. Now the other part of the story certainly is the winds. Right now these are the sustained wind speeds, and these don't look too bad, but we've seen them in the 20s, and the gusts right now are still in the 30+ mile-an-hour range. 36 mile-an-hour gusts recorded at Opelika currently, and further to the north the gusts have been picking up as well. Now here is Dennis, and you can see wrapped very tightly, or starting to wrap more tightly as it continues to develop. We're kind of on the outer fringes, but still in that pull of Dennis, and as we go through the day today into tonight, we're going to continue to see that rain being pushed on through. Now our true view for tomorrow does show some sun in the mix. Again, the influence of that dry air possibly pushing on in from the east, so we think that we could see these breaks of sun, but that's only going to increase the storm activity, the possibility to see the lightning and thunder coming on in. Our winds are coming from a southeasterly direction here, so that sun likely with the steaminess of the air and the moisture there kicking up those storms. So tomorrow is going to kind of be a mixed bag, it looks like at this point, but we're going to continue to keep an eye on it for you. Now boating conditions are really kind of still messy as we go through the weekend. Southeast winds at 20 to 25. The bays are rough out there, and you can see 5 to 7 feet rain, surf heights. And then as we go through the night tonight, we're only going to drop to about 80 degrees. Rain at times still. We're going to still see those bands coming through, I think less intensely, more sporadically, but therefore the rain at times more in the Keys with the wind slowly decreasing. Still gusts though are possible, and with the storms around tomorrow, we could be back in those gusty storm situations, although the overall speeds will tend to continue to decrease as we go through the day tomorrow, high temperature of 90 degrees. Taking a look at the week ahead though, Monday, sun and storms, 90 degrees. We get back to a more typical type of pattern with some of that sun working in, but remember the moisture is going to be all around us, so hence the chance for those storms. And it looks like the sun and storms are going to be forecast for us right during the week. We return to those very hot temperatures in the lower 90s, and certainly the heat indexes will be back up near 100 degrees.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff Taylor, bringing us up to date with what's going on with Dennis and what we can expect here throughout the evening, and we thank him for that.
Still dealing with a lot of power outages, and that can mean trouble at intersections where there are traffic lights. Ted Scouten is standing by in Dania Beach with more. Ted.
Yeah, Rob, one of the problems that we still have going on here is all the standing water. Take a look right now. This is in a parking lot where I am. There's this whole thing just filled with water, and it's pretty deep. You can see where it is on my boot, although the good news is it has gone down just a little bit. Right over here is one of the storm drains. It's working very, very slowly. You don't even see a swirl here, but the water is definitely going down. I'm going to ask Kurt to swing around all the way around over here. This is, we're going to look at 14th Avenue, North 14th Avenue in Hollywood. This is at Sheridan and North 14th Avenue. That road was completely underwater earlier today. They actually had to use a pump to get the water out. Let's take a look at some video shot from earlier. In Hollywood, there was a problem on the east side in the North Lake area with a lot of standing water. You can see right there how deep it is. This guy actually sloshing through that water. People were riding their bikes through there as well. What they eventually had to do, as I said, is they got a pump, a big pump on 14th Avenue, and they were able to pump all that water, most of it into the marsh area, which is right next to it. And in most areas in Hollywood, the water has gone down, so that is good. Now, let's take a look at some more video. This also from Hollywood. This is at the intersection of US 1 and Sheridan. Look at that van there. That van actually has a yellow light. It's trying to make a left-hand turn, but look at all the cars going in front of it. All those cars, I counted them, there's 11 of them, blew a red light to get through past that van. But the problem is at that intersection is that the lights were flashing. On Federal Highway on US 1, they were flashing yellow, and on Sheridan, they were flashing red. See there, he finally gets to turn. But what was happening is that people were just going through those red lights on Sheridan, and the people who were on US 1 weren't giving the people on Sheridan an opportunity to get through. So what FHP is saying is that if lights are not functioning properly, treat it as a four-way stop. That way it gives everyone an opportunity to safely get through. It may take you a little bit longer, but everyone just take turns, and eventually you can make it through. And that's a problem that we run into all the time when we have bad weather, when the power goes out or it causes a problem with the lights. There's always problems at the big intersections. Take your time and just be courteous. Let people actually get through those. So once again, in Hollywood, you can take a look. You can see still standing water in some areas of Hollywood and in Dania Beach. But the good news is that water is starting to go down. Hopefully, we won't get that much more rain up in this area, and it'll give all that water that's still standing a chance to actually go down. We're live in Dania Beach. I'm Ted Scout, CBS 4 News.
Ted reminding us that we can all use our good manners now after the storm, and be thankful that it wasn't that much worse here. If you have seen any damage, however, in your neighborhood, and you've taken pictures or you've got video of anything that you think is of interest after Hurricane Dennis left his mark here, please send it to us at www.cbs4news.com. There's a link there, Storm Pictures. That's what you're going to want to click onto, and we'd love to have your pictures and we can show them on the air.
Our coverage continues. A live picture here from Hollywood Beach. You're watching CBS 4 News. We'll be right back.
Hi, Harold Bennett for Bennett Auto Supply. Auto parts are boring to most people and usually a pain in the wallet. Bennett Auto Supply has over 50 years of experience with quality parts at guaranteed low prices, plus the best parts people in South Florida. Don't settle for less. Call Bennett Auto Supply today. We want your business. Right now, take $10 off our everyday low price on all AC Delco automotive and marine batteries. AC Delco, quality parts at guaranteed low prices.
For anyone who spent the holiday weekend away and missed the incredible Rooms to Go July 4th delayed payment finance offer, you still have time. We've brought it back for 2 more days, today and tomorrow only. It's a second chance to get great furniture. Big savings with no money down, no minimum purchase, no interest, and no payments until April 2007. And unlike the other guys, no interest accrues. That's today and tomorrow, only at Rooms to Go.
That's it. That's right. It's Tony Roma's Combo time. Hurry in today for Tony Roma's Combos, featuring the St. Louis Sampler, a full rack, 4 ways with 4 great sauces, or combo up, ribs, chicken, or shrimp. It's your pick, perfect for any appetite.
Gotta get to Tony Roma's. We're grilling ribs for you. Gotta come to Tony Roma's and see what's new.
Before you leave on your vacation this summer, take a look at your auto insurance. Are you certain that you're getting the best price? You should know Mercury Insurance consistently beats its competitors in head-to-head rate comparisons. Florida drivers can save over $500 a year. So whatever road you take this summer, take Mercury along.
Mercury Insurance, going the extra mile for you. Click on mercuryinsurance.com or call 888-4-MERCURY.
You're watching continuing coverage of Hurricane Dennis here on CBS 4 News, a live picture of Hollywood Beach. The wind is brisk out there, but the rain appears to be letting up, at least in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. The squalls are still moving through the Keys, but Dennis is slowly moving away.
And that is great news for us. The red flags are up, though. As you saw, they're still. The surfers can't help but go into the water because this is what they live for. Jill Martin knows that better than anyone because she's been hanging with them today. Jill. Jill, can you hear us?
We might be having some audio trouble. Haulover Beach, they designated this beach as a surfing-only beach today, although it looked like I saw some swimmers out there.